guys, it's me Rebecca. So I'm here today to do my March wrap up and to discuss a couple books I'm planning to read in April. So yeah, let's get started. With the first book I finished in March, which is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. This is about a woman named Cora whose husband died after a battle of some illness, and she escapes London to go to Essex to live there. And while she's there, she hears a legend of this serpent that the people kind of believe has caused some mischief to occur in the town. And she develops this friendship relationship with the local parish vicar, that's what I'm saying, named Willem. And this really goes through like their relationship, the relationship she has with other people, and the relationships those other people have with each other and whatnot. And I did like this a lot. I did like kind of like the different views people have. Like some people they are more of a religious thinking, scientific thinking, or mythology thinking, and as well like how in one case how kind of illness can affect our thinking. I'm so sorry for that. And yeah, with that one, it's with Willem's wife who does get sick and whatnot. Yeah. And I also liked with Cora, she doesn't really go with the expectations. Like she's supposed to be this mourning widow who should be mourning the loss of her husband when really she's not. Like the relationship she had with him wasn't a good one. She's not exactly sad that he's dead, and she kind of defies those expectations by kind of going off to Essex. And she's not the most like ladylike person. Like she's not afraid to get her shoes dirty, she's not afraid to get mud on herself. Like she's not like, she doesn't really follow this image of like a clean proper lady who should be in a house. Like she's, anyway, she does defies those expectations, but she does sometimes put on an act. Like she hosts this, I think it was like a midsummer party where she does put on that act because that's what's expected of her. Like she's aware as well that if she doesn't follow the expectations, it's gonna cost her her reputation in society. So, and really in the end, overall, it's kind of felt full circle. Like the placements of people didn't really change. Like Cora, she did go to Essex, but there's a point where she kind of went back and forth, which I don't know, I wasn't the biggest fan of at times. But then she does stay in London, despite like that his attraction to her real, and decides to stay with his wife. He does have some attraction to Cora. Like he knows it's the proper thing to do. So yeah. And as well, I did like how the town people reacted to this idea of a serpent. Like they thought there was a real mythological creature who was causing problems in the town when it was, there was other explanations. So yeah, that was also interesting. And yeah, I didn't like this. I wasn't the biggest fan of Sarah Perry's writing style. Like I just didn't really feel like I was in the story at times. I didn't really feel 100% connected to the characters. Like I did like it, but just not wholly into it. So I'm not sure about picking anything up by her. I mean, it could be like a similar situation to like Eva Reed. If she puts out like anything that sounds interesting, I might check it out. So yeah, this was like a 4 out of 5 for me. The next book I finished in March was The Mortalist by Chloe Benjamin. This follows these 4 siblings living in New York, and they go to this like fortune teller who tells them that they will die, like the precise day, and it's like how they react to that anyway. And it follows like multiple decades. Like I think this starts in yeah, 1969 and us to like the early 2000s, and you see how each of them kind of reacts to the news that they would die on this day. And some, like, they were told that they would die young, so they kind of like, decided just to be entirely selfish of the life they want to live, and some were more selfless. So yeah, the one thing I did like was like, timeline wise was like, the time there and how that affects their life. Like, initially these kids went to this fortune teller because they saw on the news like so many interesting things happening around the world, like Woodstock, and they were hearing stories. They were hearing news about the war and whatnot, and they just felt like nothing was happening in their life. And with one of the other characters, I think his name was Simon, who was the youngest son. He is living in a period where the AIDS epidemics kind of started, or is kind of coming into fruition in San Francisco, and it affects him. So yeah, with me, like, because with each part we follow different siblings, and each part's like 80 or so pages. I just didn't really feel connected to the characters. Like, I just didn't care. Just because it felt like 4 separate parts that were just coming together, telling this whole story. Like, we see with the other siblings how the death of their previous sibling or the previous siblings, like how those deaths affect them. Like, we see how Simon's death affects Clara, how Clara and Simon's death affects Daniel, and so on and so forth. That was interesting, but otherwise, like, I just didn't feel connected to the characters whatsoever. Yeah. But I also did like the power of words, because it's the words of this fortune teller that affects the siblings. Like, when she told them the day of their deaths, it kind of plays this like a placebo effect, where it's like, if you're told something will happen, you will actually believe it will happen. It's like, there's a kind of analogy used with medicine sometimes in here, where it's like, if you are told this medication will work, will help you feel better, you will actually believe, and your body will actually believe that it will work, that you will feel better, that in a way it will cure you. And I found that really interesting, and as well how they chose that, and this chose to believe the fortune teller, and just didn't really believe, like, I guess they grew up in a religious household. Their family is Jewish, and none of them seem to really have felt a connection to religion, which I also did like. So yeah, but also my last comment was that for me personally, like, with each character there was like a different timeline, and timelines in a way they kind of skipped around just to give more context to the characters themselves, which I understand, but I just wasn't the biggest fan of personally. And overall, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of this novel. I just felt it was fine. Like, I gave it 3 stars in the end, so yeah, it was just fine for me personally. And now the next novel I read, which was Gods of Jade and Shadow by Moreno-Garcia. This takes place in a jazz age in Mexico, and we follow this girl who, she's part of a family, but because her mother married a man who her father didn't approve of, and when her father died, she and her mother had to go back to live with her grandfather, her mother's father, and they're treated like servants. Like, they're not treated like a part of the family whatsoever. And this main character, Cassiope, I could never say that name correctly, I'm so sorry. But she unlocks this like chest that's in her grandfather's bedroom, and there was like this skeletal figure of like this god, and she touches it, and a bone goes into her hand, and that awakens the god, and it turns out it's an ancient god named Han Kun, I think it was. And the two of them go on a journey to kind of find the worst of him, because his brother his brother did behead him, kill him, and took parts of him, like an eyeball, an ear, a necklace he was wearing, and kind of put him in other places so he wouldn't be holy. And it really just follows the two of them as they're just trekking through different parts of Mexico, trying to find the parts of him. And I did like how Cassiopeia is kind of describing like the different parts of Mexico, how each part seems to be different from one another. And as well, there's not a contrast, but there's kind of like two sides of her trying to connect in a way. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but she grew up learning, like, I guess the new religion, the Christian religion, and she now has to from them with the stories from the old religion, and kind of has to accept if those stories are real, or she was told a different version of what actually happened. And yeah, I did like that. I liked, like, despite the fact like what she did, her impact on the narrative, it didn't just impact her narrative, but impacted the overall narrative of the gods, and I like that a lot. I also really enjoyed the relationship between Cassiopeia and Hong Kong. In a way, they're literally killing each other, like, because she has his bone in his hand. She has his bone in her hand. He's literally sucking her life force away from her. Like, he's taken her life away from her slowly, and she's making him more and more human, making him less of a god. And you shouldn't like it, but I really did this, like, their connection in this, like, how they care for one another. And I know, like, he treats her like human. He wants to pay her back for what she's done for him. And yeah. And I also like that, like, despite, like, when his bone is no longer in her hand, he no longer has a human heart because he only had a heart because of her, there's still a part of him that still loves her, and I found that very beautiful. So yeah, I always do love a book where stories play a huge role in this, and initially I did give this 4 stars, but thinking on it, or the fact that last 2 books just weren't my favorite, I did give this 5 stars, and I think, yeah, I did love this a lot, so yeah, it's a 5 star. Next up, I was The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwin. This follows a girl named Claire who goes to university in Edinburgh, and Claire is trying to learn from her past. And when she's at Edinburgh University, or University of Edinburgh, I think it is, she meets a girl named Tabitha, and Claire kind of becomes enthralled with Tabitha. Like, she wants to be Tabitha's friend. Claire ends up joining Tabitha's friend group, and Claire becomes a part of Tabitha's scheme to kind of make money. Tabitha caught her father having an affair with this woman, and he basically cut her and her mother off from everything, from all of the money, from the house, from everything. And Tabitha wants to get money, and she needs a way to ensure she's financially, like, secure. But as well, anyway, she wants. In a way, I'm seeing the man she's targeting as, like, I guess, replacements for her father. Like, she wishes someone had caught her father and told her mother way before she did, before he learned her life. Anyway, Tabitha is ruining the lives of other people by her schemes. She has this, like, network where she kind of tries to catch these men having affairs on their wives, and send that proof to the wives so the wives can get out of the situation. As well, the friendships in here with all of the groups friendship with Tabitha is a bit toxic because Tabitha either has something on them, some sort of blackmail material, or they owe her for something. So yeah, and I did enjoy this quite a lot. This Claire saw Tabitha with these like rose tinted glasses as a way just to move on from what happened in her past. And eventually those rose tinted glasses do come off and Claire sees Tabitha for who she really is. And yeah, this was very interesting and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, this was a 5-star for me personally. And the last book I finished in March was The Book Eaters by Sunny Dean. This is about these creatures who are book eaters. Like, they look human, but instead of food, they eat books. And the, I guess, diets of each book eater is kind of altered on the gender. Like, men typically eat books about politics, about real world stuff, about military, or how to run a family, in a sense, like of a patriarch, like society. While women are fed fairy tales and are led to believe that they'll get a happily ever after ending, that they'll be a prince in a tower who'll rescue them, that they'll get some freedom. Well, that's not the case entirely. And we follow this book eater woman named Devon, and she goes through a couple marriages, and with her first, okay, let me backtrack, I'm sorry. But the book eater women, they almost use like for breeding in a sense. Like, they'll get passed to another family for marriage. There are 6 marriages, and there are 6 families, I mean, in each, and the marriage alliance are kind of decided by these knights who are like separated from the families, and it's just to ensure like there's no incest going on. And with the women in the women, they are only able to produce like 2 kids at most before they go into like menopause. And when they have kids, they're only with their kids for like a few years, and then they go back to their families while their kids stay with the fathers. And yeah, Devon in particular, she had 1 daughter, and she was made empty promises and really was lied to by her first husband that she could be with her daughter when that wasn't the case at all. So she's not able to see her daughter, even if she wants to be reunited with her. The main conflict with this story, not making it more complicated than it is, I'm sorry, but the main conflict is with Devon's second child, who is a mind eater, and instead of books, mind eaters will eat the minds of a person. They take away the person's personality, their entire thoughts, their feelings, all of their memories. Like, they leave them as an empty vessel. Like, they have no thoughts, they're just brain, essentially. And the book eaters fear the mind eaters, and the mind eaters are sent to the knights and trained as these like dragons. And Devon, who doesn't want to repeat what happened with her daughter to happen with her son, but her son will have a worse fate than her daughter. She wants and takes her son with her, and they just try to escape the families, and yeah, it's more complicated than that, so yeah. Overall, I did like this. Devon generally cares about her kids a lot. She's so protective of them. She just wants to stay with them. Like, she feels so connected to them, even though book eater women are not really supposed to feel like a connection whatsoever to their kids. So yeah. And everything she does, it is for her children. And she thinks if she'll behave properly and do what she's told, she'll be able to see her daughter. She thinks if she's able to get this like medicine that suppresses the hunger and mind eaters and one of her sons, she'll be able to stay with him and protect him. So everything Devon does is to protect her children, and I did like that. Towards the end of the novel, things felt a bit washed in a sense. There's this plan to kind of get like drug and the method of how to make it from the family that makes this drug, and for some reason the knight in charge decided to bring up the plan like a couple of hours earlier than it was supposed to happen, and I'm not sure why that occurred, but yeah, this felt a bit washed in that regard. There's also a woman in here between Devon and a mind teacher woman named Hester, but this felt a bit washed. It felt a bit instilled. I feel like they met while Hester was undercover, pretending just to be this patron at a bar, trying to pick up Devon while Devon was trying to meet with someone who supplies the Raven Scars with materials to make the drug, and yeah, it goes on from there. And Devon only knows Hester for like a couple of days at most, and she's like, she has to come with us. I must protect her as well. Like, she must be. I'm willing to kind of ruin this plan to bring her with us, sort of thing. Which I just didn't love. I wish at times like it was a bit longer, but yeah, and I did enjoy this like overall, and I gave this like 4 stars. So yeah. So that's all I read in March. Well, read and finished in March. It's about the 28th of March, but I know I'm not going to be finishing my next book in March whatsoever, so I'll be discussing it in my April wrap-up. But the next book I'm planning to read is The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This is about this murder that takes place at this local theater group, and it really starts off with like the granddaughter of the director of the group being diagnosed with cancer, and an experimental treatment that costs like a huge amount of money, and the castmates rally to raise money to give her a chance to survive, but not everyone is on board, and tension arises. The next day a body is found, and there's an arrest made, and it made me follow these 2 journalists who are covering this case, and yeah, it does seem intriguing to me, so yeah, that's the next book I'll be picking up. And some other reads I'm going to try and get to in April. One I know for sure I will read like when I finish The Appeal. The other one, we'll see. I'm a bit of a mood reader, so I could change my mind. But after The Appeal, I want to read Heaven's Official's Blessing by Mo Zong Tanshu, and this is only volume 1 I have. And this is about this guy who was born a crown prince, and he was renowned for his like beauty, strength, and beauty, and his years of dedicated study and noble deeds allowed him to ascend to godhood, and yeah, he's kind of cast from the heavens and banished to the earth afterwards, but in 800 years later. He ascended to godhood for the 3rd time, and yeah, he has to repay his debts by going to the mortal realm to hunt down violent ghosts, and along the way he meets another person, and they form a connection. So yeah, I really want to read this because I'm a huge fan of this author's other work, Grandmaster of the Monaco Deviation, which, if you know, that's one of my favorite things in the world, so I just want to read more by the author, so yeah. And the 3rd book I'm planning to read, and this is the one where I might change my mind, I'm not sure, but there's a strong possibility that I will read The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hagriff. This is about this like this ring in the library. It's called the Unwritten Ring, where it's like where unfinished stories go to live, and you follow this librarian whose job it is to like, maintain, repair, and organize these books, but also keep an eye on them to prevent them from escaping. And one day, one of the heroes escapes from his book and goes in search of its author, and Claire must track him down and capture him. And she gets the help of a current assistant and a demon. So yeah, this does sound intriguing to me, and I'm excited to read it. So yeah. So that is everything I read in March and my current April TBR. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below, tell me what you're reading recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a video. Bye.